Okay, so let's talk about whales. So we've been doing this job, towing boats, helping people out for about a year, and I got a phone call from Justin Visbicki one day. Didn't know who he was, had no clue, and he says, "I talked to your counterpart in Santa Barbara. He says that you're the new guy up in Santa Cruz, and there's a whale up in Half Moon Bay that's washed ashore, and the city of Half Moon Bay wants it removed, and your counterpart down here does a good job, so he said you'd do a good job too, so we want you to go get it." I said, "Wow, okay." So I called my counterpart in Santa Barbara and said, "What have you done to me?" he said, no problem. It's easy. He said, "Here," and so he explained to us how to, what to do, how to do it, what not to do, and things to be careful about, and so I got to know Justin pretty quickly over the period of 2 days. I got to know everybody in Half Moon Bay for over a period of about 12 hours, and we got underway one morning with me and a deckhand, and my wife, who's the co-owner of the business. She drove up there with a swimmer, and we went from not knowing anything about towing whales off the beach to towing a whale off the beach in about 18 hours. But with a lot of help from our friend down in Santa Barbara. So the first one we towed, probably close to a year and a half ago now. It was a whale. It was a small humpback whale, I believe, that was washed up in right behind the campground in Half Moon Bay, and that's why they wanted to remove, because it was going to cause a health hazard. It was getting on the beach. It stunk. There was a lot of people that didn't want it there. It was kind of the height of camping season, and they wanted it removed. There's been other whales that have washed up in Half Moon Bay that nobody cares about because it's just on the beach, right? So you let nature take its course, but they wanted this one gone. The way it works is that Justin calls you and says, "There's a whale out there. I want to coordinate with the entities that want it removed, and we'll get you out there as soon as we can, because people want it done right now." Right, and so we have to kind of plan our course, because we don't want to get there at a low tide. We don't want to get there in bad weather. We're not delivering the mail, so it's something that we want to kind of plan and give ourselves a good chance for success. So this first one we went on, we did a little bit of planning over that period of 18 hours, and we kind of knew what we were doing when we got there. We put a beach crew on the beach and our boat out there. Had a guy swim out from the beach to get the tow line. We have 1,000 feet of tow line on the boat. We didn't have to put that much out, but he had to swim out and get it outside the surf line. Towed it back in. He had the tow strap ready to go on the whale. And when I was out there waiting on the boat for him to swim back in, I noticed that there were a lot of people. There was just a crowd of people, and they were all kind of starting to gather around my wife, because she was the only one that had the red TowBoat US t-shirt, and she was having it. She just didn't want to have anything to do with. She was concentrating on making sure we got that whale off the beach, and there was the city manager and the assistant city manager, and there was police, and there was dogs and kids, and just the campground was right there. It was a big deal, right? There was a boat offshore. There's this guy swimming out, swimming the line in. So that was probably the biggest event of the day, was getting the line into the whale, getting it strapped up, and when we decided, okay, now is the height, the top of the tide, there's enough water into the whale, we'll pull it off. And I was kind of thinking we'd have to pull pretty hard, but as soon as we started pulling, the whale comes right off, and we start towing it out. So we get, I don't know how many, probably a half mile or a mile off of the beach in Half Moon Bay, and we called Justin and said, "Justin, we got the whale. It's off the beach." And he had told us where he wanted it. He actually told us to take it to the most western Farallon Island. I'm not sure it has a name, but it's that island. And he wanted us to go around the island, get upwind of the island, and drop the whale off so it would wash up on the beach. So it would be in a place that nobody really cared about, and that it wouldn't wash back on shore. That's the one thing that they don't want to have happen when these whales get removed, is it takes a lot of time for us to do this, and once I touch the whale and Justin has something to do with the whale, then we kind of own the whale to a certain respect. We're responsible for its proper disposal. So he said, go out there, drop it off on this island, and let me know when you're done. So we were at about a 30-mile tow to get there. I didn't really know how long it was going to take when we first started. I knew that we couldn't tow it like a boat. Boats are shaped like this. They go through the water easy. Whales aren't, especially when you're towing them backwards, because that's where we attach to their tail. We figured out we could go about 3 knots. So do the math. 10 hours from the time we leave Half Moon Bay to the time we get to this place in the Farallones, this magical island out there. So, all right. So we had food with us. We had drinks. We knew that we were going to be gone for a while, but I didn't know about how long. So we said, all right, set a course for this island. It was the morning. We knew we were going to get there at night, so we started kind of planning on what we were going to do, how to get the whale close to the island, not too close so that we didn't get wrecked on the island in the middle of the night. And we get to the point where we're just gonna, I know we're gonna lose phone reception because we're maybe 6 or 7 or 8 miles out, and I start getting texts from Justin, call me. All right, so I called him. He said, that plan's not going to work. He says Fish and Game doesn't want the whale on the beach. They say that it's we'd have to get all kinds of permits, and they're just not gonna allow it because they don't have time to think about it enough. So you can't put it there. Okay, where do we put it? He said, I've picked another point for you that's going to be far enough out in a different current loop that the whale probably won't come back on shore. I said, okay, where's that? And he says, 15 miles west of that island. 15 miles, it's 5 more hours. Right? Okay. So there's nothing we could do. We had this whale behind us, about 400 feet on the tow line. We'd promised that we were going to put it on this island, and now we've got the promise that we're going to put it. So we charted. We got out a chart, or my GPS chart, and started looking at where we're going to put it. We were going to be 5 miles past the continental shelf in a 28-foot boat in the middle of the night with a whale, a dead whale, attached to us. So we just kind of settled in, decided we would take shifts. Me and another guy on the boat decided we'd take shifts driving so we could sleep. So for the biggest part of the journey going out, though, it was daylight. So as we were going out, lots of things happened. The first thing that we were concerned about is that the course that we had to take to go straight to where we wanted to be crossed all the shipping lanes that were going into San Francisco. So you got a shipping lane that goes this way, you got one that goes out, you got 2 or 3 things. And as we approached that, then we could see it wasn't quite dark yet, but there was a lot of ships. And ships in the shipping lane go 10 to 20 knots. And we were poking along at 3 with 500 feet of line and a dead whale on the back. So we kind of had to pick our way through the shipping lanes to make sure that we weren't going to get in the way of any big ships. We had the plan to give them a call and let them know that we were there if we got close to one. Unfortunately, it was kind of one of these things where a ship went by, we went here, another one this way. Just as we were getting ready to go in the next shipping lane, one went by and we went through, and another one came by, and we were able to kind of weave our way through about 4 or 5 ships as we're going through. Okay, good to get through there so we won't get hit. And then as we got closer to the Farallones, we could start to see the islands. And when it was still daylight, we could see the shapes of the islands. And as we got out there, the water started changing, and we went from kind of how it is, kind of go brown, then green, and blue. Just as we got to the really, really blue water, where it would, just everything turned into what looked like tropical water. There was just this multitude of life that came up. We had a pod of dolphins that came by and purposely checked us out. They weren't quite sure what we were doing out there, but we were something they weren't expecting, they weren't used to seeing. So we pod of dolphins came by, and they actually went under the boat. We think we saw some turn around and take another pass, and there were quite a few that kind of hung back and actually swam under the whale. And I'm sure they were checking out why this whale was swimming backwards on the surface, and we could see all that happening around us. So once the dolphins kind of left us, the porpoise left us, they were there for maybe 10 minutes, kind of milling around. We just kept on going straight and steady. We saw a pod of whales. I don't know that they knew what we were doing or were curious about it. They were very close to us, so we could see, look up there feeding, coming up, going down, coming up, going down, but right out the back of the boat, so close that I could take videos and pictures of the whale we were towing and the whales behind us in the same frame. So this parade of whales for a little while. Then I think probably the best thing, the funniest, or the most amusing to me anyway, thing was that there's about 30 sea lions showed up on scene, and sea lions are real curious, and these sea lions were freaking out because they saw us, and I think for sea lions that are habituated to humans and boats, they probably thought, hey, look, a fishing boat. And they all came up to the boat, and they were popping their heads out and kind of trying to get a look over the side to see if we were fishing or cutting bait or throwing anything over the side that they could eat. And once they figured out that we probably weren't going to feed them, then they noticed the whale. and it was like a pack of dogs had seen something that they were never seen before. They all stopped, and they all stood up as high as they could stand up, like this, with their noses in the air, and they all stayed real stationary. There's one little area about 50 feet wide, and they all just watched like a parade, and just real stiff. This whale float by them, and you could just see them. It completely shocked these poor sea lions, and the whale went by, and you could see him kind of look around to see if there was anything else weird, and a couple of them followed the whale for a while, and the rest of them just kind of slowly wandered off. But we had those 3 encounters within maybe an hour or two of each other, right out there, just past the shipping lanes. So that was pretty cool. And the rest of the time we didn't see anything. We saw the islands, we saw a lot of ships, and as it got dark, then it got kind of weird, because now we know we're out there, we're all by ourselves, there's no other ships, no traffic, no animals, no other boats at all, and we're still moving. We think we've probably got 5 or 6 hours to go to get to our destination. We finally got there. It was a very lonely place out there for us, and we recorded where we put the whale. We got the whale loose from the towboat, which was a little bit ominous, because as we were going out, the current was a north current when we first started. When we got out there, it was flowing west, and as we were trying to find the end of our tow line to where we can unhook it from the line that we were going to leave on the whale, so that we didn't have to handle the whale, or to identify the whale as something that's been towed previously, the whale caught up with us, and just out of the dark, and we could see this shadow coming toward us, and we knew it was the whale, but it was coming at us, and we really couldn't get away because we had lines struggling, and as the whale came up, it just kind of nudged the boat, and then we got all our line back, got the line that we were going to cut off, the whale cut off, and took a few quick pictures to prove that we were there, and that we did what we had to do, and we turned around and came back to Santa Cruz. But we were gone 22 hours from the time we left Santa Cruz to the time we all the way out and back. That's the longest one we've had. That was a long way. We towed that whale 45 miles to get it to a point where it would not come back on shore.